Hello everyone and welcome back to part 12 of my Learn Ethical Hacking course. In this part we're going to listen for a connection. So essentially this is the most important part after creating the payload. This listening for a connection will allow us to receive a connection when the user double clicks on this payload. So say they're on a separate laptop, which I have set up. I don't have a separate laptop, but I've got a separate virtual machine, which is Windows 10. Imagine this like a laptop. This is still a standalone computer, so the Kali Linux and the Windows machine and my host machine are all separate. They're essentially different laptops or computers. We are going to be able to listen for a connection. So when this person, for example, I'll give some context, say you're talking to someone, you say, oh, go and download my new game. They download this payload backdoor.exe, they run it, then essentially the connection will send a connection to your Kali machine, or it'll send a signal to your Kali machine. That Kali machine will pick up that because we're listening for it, and then you'll be able to do whatever you wish with the computer. So in the Kali machine we've created backdoor.exe. I'm going to try and keep this as short and as sweet as possible, so I'm not going to ramble on a lot. So we've got backdoor.exe. We need a local server. This server will allow us to upload and download files from it. This server will be local to the Kali Linux machine. However, any computer that is connected to the same Wi-Fi spot will be able to access this. It's an Apache server. It comes pre-installed with Kali Linux. So you need to locate this directory. Essentially what you can do is, if you don't know how to access this here, you can just right click on this one, which is inside the compiled. So to open the compiled, you can do that, which will open this, and then you can right click on this and type and click open a new window. Once you're inside this, I'll close this out so I can just use this new window here and get rid of that, because we need that terminal in a second. Go inside var, which is here, then go inside www, then go inside HTML. If you're familiar with web development, you'll know that what index.html is. Essentially, this is just the default Apache homepage, and every file that you want to be accessed or be able to access and upload and download will go inside this. This is the root directory of the web server. So all you need to do is copy your backdoor.exe or whatever you called it and paste it inside here. So now we've uploaded it. This is on the web server. And what you can imagine what we're going to do. So we're going to go on the, I'll say laptop in quotes, which is just this virtual machine, and download it. It's just a method of transferring it. I've got to say now that at this point the course doesn't go into much detail with how to deliver it properly and ways of encrypting it and ways of blending it in, like attaching it to JPEG files, etc. I will talk about all that stuff. It's just an introduction into it. So this is not a realistic approach on how to make people download it or trick people into downloading it. It's a lot of cybersecurity is your own due diligence. So it's your own thinking and being smart with things. But just for the purpose of this video, we're going to create a web server and then go to the separate computer which we're acting as the victim, which is this one, and then download it. That is not a traditional way of actually trying to transfer this payload. So we've got backdoor.exe, we've uploaded it. Now we need to start the service, so we need to start the web server. So to do this, you type service Apache 2, so APACHE 2 space start. Click enter, that will start the server. Now when you type localhost into your browser, you will appear on the web server. We've started the web server, so now we need to go to the victim computer. Now imagine in context this person, you're talking to this person, you say, oh, go and download my new game. You could have, could have connected to your fake access point, then you could talk to them, get to know them, sort of social engineer. And that is a key word that is very important for this course, so go and research social engineering. They agree to download your game. It looks innocent, and because you seem friendly, they think, oh yeah, we'll go and download it. You direct them to 192.168.110.128. Now this will be different for you. To find this, it's basically just the IP of your Kali machine. So ifconfig, and it's the ETH0 inet, which is this. It's because it's a local server, it will run off the IP address of the Kali machine. So they type that in, click enter, and it'll send you to the Apache 2 default page. It's saying it works, so it lets you know that it's working. Essentially, we are connecting to the Kali machine now, or the server on the Kali machine, not the actual Kali machine itself. I shouldn't say that. Now, we uploaded the backdoor.exe. So like I was saying as a little story, the game, you could have called that game.exe. So they type game.exe and download it, but in this case it's backdoor.exe. So I click enter, and because it's inside the root directory, it's going to ask if you want to download it. Click enter, and as you can see down here, it says, what do you want to do with backdoor.exe? You can run or save. You want to save it, there's no point running it because we haven't actually listened for the connection. So click save, and it's finished downloading. Open folder, and there's the backdoor.exe. So this person might be thinking, oh, this game looks good, and then they're going to actually run this, but it's not a good idea. I promise I do have better delivery methods, encryptions, and just in the future, just wait. I'm trying to get them all out, but with life in the way, it's quite difficult. So bear with me. But this is just a demonstration on how to listen for a connection. So we'll leave all that for the future. So this person's downloaded it. We can go back to the Kali machine now and actually start listening for connections. So I'm going to clear this. Then what we can do is we can start listening for a connection, and we have to use MSF console. So you type MSF console, click enter. This is Metasploit. So let it just run. It'll take a while for it to actually open, so give it a few seconds, and I'll explain what this is in a second. So this is starting the Metasploit framework console. Ignore fail connect to the database, ignore that, doesn't matter. We're just waiting for the actual Metasploit to start. Metasploit is a community type thing where people upload the vulnerabilities. It's a cybersecurity, computer security Metasploit. So essentially exploits get uploaded, people use payloads. There's loads of different things with Metasploit, and we have to use Metasploit to be able to listen to a connection through a payload. So we're using the MSF console. You can tell because it says down here MSF. So what we want to do is we want to type use exploit, and don't worry, in the future of this course I do go into more detail with Metasploit. It's your first ever time seeing it, but just follow along and you'll start to understand it. So multi and then handler. So just copy this down. Everything will be in the description and you have to follow anyway, so you could just copy that from the description or type it. So it's use exploit, multi, and then handler. Click enter, and now we're using the multi handler. This multi handler allows us to listen for connections essentially, but we need to set the payload. This needs to correspond to the payload that we created. So if you remember, I created anyway, it doesn't have to be this. I used reverse HTTPS, so I need to do set payload in capitals, Windows, interpreter, and then reverse underscore HTTPS. Click enter. Then it sets the payload to the correct one. This corresponds to backdoor.exe, which we generated in the previous video. I can type show options now. Click enter, and this will show the options. As you can see, it's set to L port 8443. We set it to port 8081, so we need to change that, and we also need to set the L host. So we'll set the L host first because it's blank. So set L host, and then we need to set the L host to the IP address of the Kali machine. So it's 192.168.110 and then .128. So this is, like I said, to find this, you just type ifconfig and it's your ETH0 inet. So I'll set that to the L host, and then we need to set the port. So set L port to 8081. Click enter. That sets the L port. Then all we need to do now is, in fact, I can type show options, I believe, again. Let me just try that. There we go. that will just show us the changes that have been made. So L port is now 8081 and the L host is the IP address of our Kali machine. So we've got the L host, the port. Then all we need to do now is actually listen for a connection. So make sure you're still in multi-handler and then type exploit. Click enter. It's going to run. It's going to start the HTTPS reverse handler on the same port and the same IP address, as you can see here. Then it opens the port and now it's listening. So essentially what we can do is, I can't do this in the same window, but if I go to the Windows 10 machine and I run this now, it's saying this Windows protected. Don't worry, this isn't an actual antivirus. I haven't showed you encrypting this and making it undetectable just yet. However, this isn't a antivirus. This is just Windows Defender. It always happens when you download applications with unknown publishers. So this isn't detected by the Windows machine. So you can just run anyway. It's asking for the admin privileges, so you just click yes on the box that appears. You don't have to run it as admin. I'm going to. Then it starts loading, and then if we go back to the Kali machine, as you can see, there's a session opened. So Matipris is session 1 opened. So essentially, we've got full access to this computer. So if we type sysinfo, click enter, you can see the type of computer that we've connected to. So this person thinks that they've downloaded your game, but they haven't clearly. You've got access to the info, the system info, what type of Windows 10 machine it is, what type of language. I was going to do this for a separate video and go through all of the commands that you can do and different methods of attacking this computer now and getting as much information from it as possible, such as passwords, info, see what they're doing, see the webcam. I'll show you one command and I'll type screenshot, click enter. The screenshot has saved to root, and then it's give it a random name. So if we go back to our file manager, we can get out of this one now and just go to the root. As you can see here, there's a screenshot. If we open this, we can actually see a screenshot of the desktop. So like I said, imagine if this is in a Wi-Fi hotspot, you can see what they're viewing. And just to prove this, if we go back to the Windows machine and then we type Facebook, click enter and go on facebook.com, and then we go back to the Kali machine and we ask for another screenshot of their desktop. It'll save it. We go back to this directory or file manager and there's a new screenshot. If we open it, you can see that they're on Facebook now. This is very basic and it's useful information if information gathering anyway, but there's much more things you can do with this, much more useful things anyway. It's getting really interesting now, so I'm going to start part 13 tomorrow, so subscribe to keep up with all of the episodes. And that's essentially it. We've got access to this computer. We can cause a lot of damage. So yeah, that's it for the video. If it did help, please leave a like, comment if you're stuck with anything. I'll be happy to help. Subscribe for future content and I will see you in the next video.